89% of business leaders say AI is a top priority. But with AI tools popping up everywhere, how do you separate the helpful from the hype? The right choice is crucial, which is why teams at 1/3 of Fortune 500 companies use Grammarly. With over 15 years of experience building responsible, secure AI, Grammarly isn't just another AI communication assistant. It's how companies like yours increase productivity while keeping data protected and private. Designed to fit the needs of business, Grammarly is backed by a user-first privacy policy and industry-leading security credentials. This means you won't have to worry about the safety of your company information. Grammarly also emphasizes responsible AI, so your company can avoid harmful bias. See why 70,000 teams and 30 million people trust Grammarly at Grammarly.com/enterprise. That's Grammarly.com/enterprise. Grammarly, enterprise-ready AI.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely, and parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/audio.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Exposed Scandalous Files of the Elite. I am your host, Jim Chapman, and we are back with this 17th episode in our Murdoch series. But before we get into it, I want to shout out our newest global celebrity supporters, and we are going to start with Miss Lisa Donker. And Lisa is from Toronto, Canada, a truly global celebrity. So welcome to the global celebrity tier, Miss Lisa. Next is Katie Jensen from Chicago, Illinois, home of Michael Jordan. Thank you so much for joining, Katie. Next, we have Miss Andrea Johnson, and I don't have her city and state, but I'm sure thank her for joining. Thank you and shout out Miss Andrea. And finally, I have Miss Debbie Eastman from Arlington, Texas. Go Texas Rangers. Shout out Miss Debbie. Thank you to all these new global celebrities for supporting. And if you would like to check out the Patreon and support, you can find us at patreon.com/exposed podcast files. So let's get into today's episode. And the focus today is going to be on the testimony of Muchelle Shelly Smith, who worked as a caregiver where Alex Murdaugh's mother lived. Now, if you'll remember, Murdoch made an unusual visit to the house on the night of the killings. She was the one who was there, and to me, this is one of the most interesting testimonies in the entire trial. So I'm going to jump right into it, and I'm going to play you the entire testimony in full, and then we'll talk about it. Here's that clip.
Muchelle Shelly Smith.
Take a deep breath.
Yes.
What is your first name?
Muchelle.
Spell that, please.
Mushell.
Where'd you get that name from?
My auntie named me.
And where did she get that name from?
I don't know.
Is it Muchelle with a U?
You, yes, correct.
During the course of this, if you don't mind, is it okay if I call you Miss Smith or Miss Shelly or Shelly? I really don't know what's going to come out of my mouth sometimes. Is that okay?
That's okay.
But do you go by Shelly?
Yes.
Please tell these folks, Miss Smith, about Muchelle Smith, where you were born, where you were raised, please.
Hampton, South Carolina.
And ma'am, if you don't mind just pulling this up a little bit and speaking into it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I was born in Hampton County. Have 4 grown kids.
Louder, Miss Smith.
I was born in Hampton County, 4 grown kids, 8 grands, and I worked for the Hampton County District for the last 28 years. Food service is my professional.
Pull that chair up. I just want you to be comfortable. Like you said, you had 4 adult kids.
Yes,
Then you said 6 to 8 grands.
it's 8 grands.
8 grands. Okay. And raised where?
Hampton, South
Where-
Carolina.
Okay. Where'd you go to high school?
Wade Hampton High School.
And what did you do after high school, Ms. Smith?
Got married. Raised my kids, and that's what my profession. That's it.
And that is the hardest profession, raising children.
Yes,
You had 4 kids.
4 kids.
And when you were raising them, you were raising them, taking care of the
Yes.
family. And are any of your family here today?
Yes, my brother and my daughter.
What's your brother's name?
Michael Smith.
Michael Smith, will you stand up? Is that your brother?
Yes, that's my brother.
And who else is here?
My daughter, Rochelle.
Miss Rochelle, will you stand up? Thank you. They in here supporting you today?
Yes.
Don't take this the wrong way, but other than raising a family, which is the hardest job, were you doing anything else during that time period?
No, till 1995, I started working at the school district.
Okay. Did you work in your church while you were raising your family?
Yes, I worked at church.
Okay, and that's what I'm asking you. What did you do with your church while you were raising your family?
Usher, kitchen ministry.
Kitchen ministry?
Yes.
And how long did you do that?
Oh, all my life, church.
Are you still doing that?
Yes.
And you don't have to name your church, but where is your church located?
Fairfax, South Carolina.
So at some point after your children moved up in years or got older, did you start another profession?
Yes.
Okay. And tell the ladies and gentlemen what that was, please, ma'am.
Private home care.
I'm sorry?
Private home care, caregiver.
How did you get into that?
My aunt.
And was she in that business?
Yes, she's an LPN. Yes.
An LPN?
Yes.
Licensed practical nurse?
Yes.
And when did you get in the home care business?
Probably about 10 or 12 years ago.
Now, prior to that, had you already started with the school?
Yes, I'm still at the school also.
Okay. Tell them when you started with the school.
In school in 1995. That's correct, 1995.
And what school did you start with?
At North District Middle School in Warrenville, South Carolina.
North Central Middle, Varnville.
North District Middle School.
North.
Yes.
What did you do for them?
Food service.
And how long did you do that at that school?
I've been there for 19 years at North District Middle School.
After that, did you change
Yes.
locations?
6 years later, I went to Wade Hampton High School.
And for those of us that don't know, where is that?
Warrenville, South Carolina.
And you've been there 6 years?
Oh, no, 6 years at Wade Hampton High School.
So total years in the school system is what?
28 years.
And you're still there?
Still there.
So you started home health care while you were still teaching school? Or
No.
still going to school?
Going to school, working food service.
And will you please tell them, you said your aunt got in your business. Were you working with one family at a time, or did you have...
Different families at a time.
Okay.
Different families.
And how long would you stay with the family once you became their caregiver?
It all depends on how long if they're deceased, I will move on to another family.
So is it fair to say you stay with the family until the person passed on?
Passed on, yes, correct.
And then how'd you get other jobs as far in that caregiving profession?
My aunt always called me and said there's a job, and she let me put me on that job.
Okay. So to give the jury an idea before we get to this case, your schedule would be what when you were still working at school?
Yes,
and
at school.
caregiving?
Yes.
Okay, so what was your typical day like?
My typical day was I leave home at 7:20, have to be to school at 8 o'clock that morning. And I will stay there till 1:45, make my deposit for the school, then leave and go to my next job.
Can you tell this jury, Miss Smith, how it came about that you started working for the Murdoch?
It was a job opening. I think one of the caregivers mentioned it to me, and I said, yes, I'd be interested in going. And now that's how it started.
Okay. And one of the caregivers mentioned your name. Do you know who that was?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's Barbara Mixon.
Miss Barbara Mixon?
Yes, sir.
So there's an opening and your name got brought up.
Yes.
And can you tell these folks when that was? When did you start working for the Murdaugh family?
I think it was October of 2019.
And what was your role as a caregiver specifically for the Murdaughs?
Miss Libby, taking care of Miss Libby. Miss Libby.
Was Mr. Randolph, I knew him as Solicitor Randolph Murdaugh, but was Mr. Randolph, was he there living when you started there?
Yes, he has, yes.
And then that's what we've referred to as Almeida?
Yes, Almeidas, yes.
What was your primary job as the caregiver? Were you there to take care of the solicitor or Mr. Randolph, or was your primary job for Miss Libby?
Miss Libby.
Okay. Did you also ever tend to Mr. Randolph's?
Yeah, every now and then. Mm-hmm.
But your main focus was Miss Libby?
Miss Libby, yes.
From October 19th up to June 21st, Ms. Smith, and I want to be very delicate in this question. I think it's something that affects everybody in the world, this jury there, but did Miss Libby's condition get worse?
Yes.
And she's suffering from something that affects all of our families, is Alzheimer's?
Yes.
And that got worse from the time you started until June?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, in June of 2021, how would you describe Miss Libby's condition?
Alzheimer's, couldn't remember anything at times.
In your opinion, as her caregiver, was she aware of what was going on around her?
No.
All right, specifically, in June of 2021, Ms. Smith, or May, June of 21, tell these folks what your school schedule was and then your work schedule with the Murdaughs.
Okay. My school schedule was 7:20. I would leave home, be to school at 8 o'clock, and I leave there at 1:45. Go home, make my deposit at the bank, go home, rest, come back to work at 7:45. Had to be there at 8 p.m. that night. I would stay all night and leave 7:45 the next morning, leave there and go back to the school.
So was that the shift you were working for the Murdaughs
Yes.
primarily?
Yes.
An 8 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
When did you sleep after you went to school?
Took little cat naps every now and then.
But would you go home after you made your deposit?
Yes.
You would rest?
Yeah, that's for a couple of hours. Mm-hmm.
And then did you have a change of clothes at the Murdaughs for when you went straight to school the next morning?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, ma'am, I'd like to take you to June 7th of 2021. If you'll go back there, if we can take them back in your mind and take this jury back there right now, please, ma'am. Were you working as a caregiver for Miss Libby Murdaugh on June 7th of 2021?
Yes.
Now, had Mr. Randolph, again, I know Ms. Solicitor, but had Mr. Randolph's condition worsened? Had he gotten, was he in the hospital, was he there when you got there on June 7th?
No, he was not.
Okay. Do you know where he was?
He was in the hospital.
What time did you get to the Murdaugh, Miss Libby's residence and Mr. Randolph's residence on June 7th of 2021?
7:45.
Okay. And that's the time you were there?
Yes.
And you're never late, are you?
No.
And is somebody waiting to leave for you to get there?
Yes.
Okay. And this night, who was there?
was Miss Barbara Mixon, I'm thinking.
Okay.
Can't remember. I think it was Miss Barbara.
Seems I'm having trouble
I'm sorry.
understanding your words. Can you speak maybe louder?
Okay. Yes.
I know you can't change your voice, but
Yes, sir.
a little louder, please. Or closer to the mic.
Can you tell us what Miss Libby, when you got there on June 7th of 2021, shortly before 8, where was Miss Libby?
In the bed.
And as a professional caregiver, and this was what time of night?
8 o'clock that night.
If one of your patients that you're taking care of is in the bed resting, do you like to disturb them?
No.
If they're sleeping, do you want to wake them up?
No.
So when you got there, was Miss Libby in bed?
She was in bed, yes.
And do you get briefed by Miss Mixon on what happened during the day, or y'all exchange, hey,
You know, just come in with, change her if she need to be changed or whatever like that.
make sure that
She's
Dry.
She's dry. It's okay, yes.
and so where's your desk, or what's your position when you're there, when you're in her room, Miss Libby's room?
Yes.
Okay. Where do you sit when you're in the room? What do you do to take care of her?
In a recliner. Have a recliner. Sit there.
And is there a TV in the room?
Yes.
And is the TV usually on when you're there with Miss Libby in the evening, or does it?
Yes.
Okay. Was it on this night?
It was on, yes.
And do you remember what y'all were watching? Or what was on TV?
American Says, a game show.
Say it again.
American Says, the game show.
Okay. How long has that been on?
It's stays on. It repeats. It's afterwards repeats itself.
What channel is that on?
The Game Network show. Channel, excuse me.
So at some point on the evening of June 7th of 2021, did you see Alex Murdaugh?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what time it was? Approximately.
The game show was on, so it had to have been 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9:30, somewhere up in there.
8:39, 9:30?
Yeah, somewhere up in there.
Okay. Is it fair to say it was later in the evening?
It was late in the evening, yes.
Okay. And you had worked that schedule for that 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. shift for how long?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
Was it unusual to see Alex Murdaugh at that residence that time of night?
Yes, on my shift, yes.
And that's the only shift you'd work.
Yes.
So the 8 p.m. to the 8 a.m. shift, it was unusual to see Alex Murdaugh there visiting, correct?
Correct, yes.
Had you ever been over there before that time of night?
I think different off and on. It all depends.
When he got there, can you tell the jury what happened?
He called the house and told me he was outside.
Right. He called the house.
Yes.
What phone did he call? It's a terrible question. I mean, was it your phone, the house phone?
The house phone. The house phone.
Okay. And when you answered the house phone, what did he say?
He was outside. They let him in.
He was at the house,
Yes.
right outside the house,
Yes.
and he called you,
Yes.
and he said, "Let me in."
Yes.
And after he called you, how long did it take you to go open the door to let him in?
About 5 minutes.
So he was right there at the house.
Yes.
You let him in?
Of course, yes.
Okay. Do you remember what he was wearing?
Shorts
Okay.
and a t-shirt.
Do you remember what kind of shoes he had on?
Those cloth shoes, like Sperry's, that type of material. Like Sperry's, that type of material, cloth shoes.
Cloth shoes?
Yeah, like cloth. I mean, yes.
And you said something called Spears?
Something like Sperry's, that kind of, but it was cloth.
Okay.
That kind, yeah.
Wasn't boots?
No, it wasn't boots, no.
And are you familiar with tennis shoes?
Yes.
Was it tennis shoes?
No, it wasn't tennis shoes.
Cloth, Sperry type shoes?
Yes.
Did he have any socks on?
No.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, could you describe Alex Murdaugh's demeanor on June 7th when you were there with him and his mother Libby? How was he acting?
Like, fidgety. This came in, you know,
Speak up, please.
fidgety, I think it was normal.
What you say now?
Like he was fidgety, like, yeah,
Fidgety.
yes.
Is that what you're saying? And did he tell you why he was there?
No, he just came to see his mother.
Did he talk to his mother?
But she was asleep, yes.
She was asleep. Okay. And what did he do? What did Alex Murdaugh do when his mother was asleep?
He came and sat on the bed, because we was asking me what I was watching. I said American Says, I said the game show.
Did he say anything to his mother?
We said, hey, Mom, how you doing? You know, just came to check up on you, yeah.
Did he say why he'd come to check up on her?
Because Daddy was in the hospital, you know, call him Hansel, yeah, was in the hospital.
And in your opinion, as being there, her caregiver, did she even know that he was there?
No.
The objection's overruled.
You said no?
No, Mother, no.
How long did he stay in the room with y'all? I say y'all, for the record, you and Miss Libby, I apologize.
About 15 to 20 minutes, 20 minutes.
Was he moving around the room?
No, he was laying on the bed.
Did he have his phone with him?
Yes,
Was he looking at his phone?
yes, he was on his phone, yes.
I'm sorry, ma'am. What?
Yes.
After that initial conversation, you said he said, I'm here. Did he have any other attempt to have any other conversation with Miss Libby?
No,
Can you hold your hand out? Did he ever hold her hand?
yes, he did hold her.
Did he hold her?
Yeah,
Did you talk to her?
Yeah, she was in the bed, yeah. Yes.
And her condition then was what?
She was, you know, sleep off and on, sleep.
How long did he stay there?
Just a last minute.
I forgot.
20 minutes, about 20 minutes.
$20 minutes.
About 20 minutes.
Okay. What happened after that?
He left.
Your shift ended when?
8 o'clock the next morning.
At some point after that, did you get a call from Miss Mixon?
Yes,
Did you learn what had happened at Muchelle?
yes.
At some point after that, did you get a call from a family member? I really don't know who it was, but
Yes, yes,
do you remember who it was?
yes.
Okay, who was it?
It was Randy.
Randy Murdoch.
Randy Murdoch, yes,
Alex Murdaugh's brother.
yes.
And as a result of that, what was were you expecting people to come over after that?
No,
After that phone call, were you expecting people to come spend the night that
Yes.
night? Okay. Who was going to come over?
Randy told me, John Marvin, Buster and his girlfriend, and Alex.
John Marvin, Buster and his girlfriend, and Alex.
Yes.
And did you, in fact, see them later on that night? Or that morning, the next morning, I'm sorry. Did they come to Alameda after you got a call from Mr. Randy saying they were coming? Did they come?
Yes, they came, yes.
And at some point later on that morning, did you see Alex Murdaugh again? Did you see him again that morning?
No,
Did you ever come looking for glasses?
that morning, that night, he was in there. He came with glasses. He said he couldn't sleep.
And Mr. Randolph, or Solicitor Randolph, died shortly, a couple of days after that?
Yes.
Now, you were working the 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. shift. Were you asked to work more after this to get the family through this? Were
Yes.
you asked to help more at the house?
Yes.
And were you happy to do that?
Of course.
And do you remember the day of Mr. Solicitor, I'm going to call him Solicitor, that's the way I know him, Solicitor Randolph's funeral?
Yes.
And I've been reading through all this stuff. What's a repast?
A repast is when everybody come back after the funeral and eat.
Everybody comes back and eats?
Yes.
Well, after the funeral, did people come to Alameda, sort of like a visitation after a funeral?
Yes.
Okay. Did folks come over there then?
Yes.
And was the family there then?
Yes.
And during this repast, visitation, where were you? And I said, what was your job during that, or what were you doing during the visitation?
I was in the room with Miss Libby. This back and forth.
And sometime that afternoon, did you see Alex Murdaugh?
Yes.
Okay. Tell the jury about that, please.
He came in the room,
You'd speak up, please, ma'am.
He came in the room and spoke like he always do.
And what did he tell you?
That he was at the house. He was at the house.
Say it again.
He was at the house.
And I'm not 100% following you. He was telling you or saying to you that he was at the house? Mm-hmm. When?
The night of the murders.
The night of the murders?
Yes.
What was he telling you about that he was at the house the night of the murders?
That he'd been there 30 to 40 minutes.
Was he telling you that? Did he ask you anything about that when he was talking to you?
Yes.
Did he indicate to you what he wanted you to do with that information?
No. No.
What did he say?
He just said that he was at the house for 30 to 40 minutes. I said,
You said what? Was he there 30 or 40 minutes that night?
not to my recall.
Why are you crying, you said?
Because they're a good family, and I love working there. And I'm sorry all this happened. They're good people,
He wasn't there no 30 or 40 minutes, was he?
No.
Can't leave the witness.
Did that conversation upset you?
Somewhat.
You upset right now?
Yes.
Did you call anybody about it?
My brother.
You called your brother after that conversation with Alex
Yes.
to tell him about that conversation?
Yes.
And just to be clear, what was the statement he said about how long he was here?
30 to 40 minutes.
But his phrase was, I was here, or you know I was...
I was here 30 to 40 minutes.
Not to pry, but I can't help it sometimes. What else was going on in your life right there?
Just working. Hours and hours.
You're whispering. I can't understand what you're saying.
Were you going to get married?
I was planning on getting married. I was planning on to.
And had Alex Murdaugh mentioned anything to you about your upcoming nuptials?
Yes.
And when was that?
Day afterwards, I'm thinking.
The day after this?
I think it was,
after
yes.
the conversation
Yes.
you said? Where were you?
At Miss Libby, at the house.
And what did he say about your marriage, your upcoming potential marriage?
I heard you was getting married. I said, yes. He said, if I could, just let me know, because I know wedding's going to be expensive. I said, well, thank you.
The wedding's going to be expensive?
He said, wedding's going to be expensive. I said, well, thank you.
Did he offer to help?
Yes, he offered. That's the type of person, a good person.
And did he ever mention the wedding to you before?
No. Mm-mm.
Did you mention that to him before?
No,
Hey, did he have a conversation, anything else about your job? Were you working at the school?
Yes, at the school, yes.
Did Mr. Murdoch mention to you about your school and your position there?
Yes.
Tell him what he said, please.
He said that, if you need a position at school, my good friend is there. I said, yeah, I know. Worked at the school, the principal.
I believe you testified. Did you help out more than just your regular shift the rest of this week?
Yes.
That week after
Yes.
the murders and Solicitor Murdaugh's death? Were you working full time then, trying to help?
Yes.
Was school out then?
No.
So you still going to school and helping?
Yes.
And after Mr. Randolph's funeral, did you have an occasion to see Alex Murdaugh early one morning?
Yes.
Do you know how long it was, how many days after the funeral of Mr. Murdaugh?
3 days, I think 3 days.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of this jury what time it was in the morning that you saw Alex Murdaugh?
6:30 that morning.
Say that again.
6:30 that morning.
And that had been a part of your regular shift, right? 8 to 8 a.m.
Yes.
And did he call you and tell you he was coming?
No.
He didn't? Well, had he called you on June 7th and told
Yes.
you he was coming?
Yes.
And he was right outside the house?
Yes.
And this morning at 6:30, he did not call you?
No.
How did you know he was on the premises?
He knocked by the bedroom, the window.
Knocked?
Yes, on the wall.
Well, did you hear him say anything after that?
He said, I'm outside.
Say it again?
I'm outside.
Had he ever been there at 6:30 in the morning before that? While you were working there?
No, sir.
Never.
No.
And tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you observed that morning when you saw Alex Murdaugh.
He came in the white, left in the white truck, came in the white truck.
Well, there's still funeral stuff's not in the world. There's still funeral equipment in the yard.
Yes.
Like what?
The tent was still there, and the big old building they put the food in had out there.
Like a food truck?
Yeah, food truck. Yes, the camping.
And was that blocking your view some?
Yes, yes.
So when you saw Alex Murdaugh this morning at 6:30, what did he do after he knocked on the door? Did you let him in?
Yes.
Then what did he do?
Came inside.
And was Miss Libby sleeping?
Yes, she was still asleep.
Okay. Did he go check on Miss Libby?
No, he didn't came in.
He didn't go check on her?
I can't remember.
Well, what did he do then?
He came inside.
Okay. And did he have anything, or was he holding anything?
He had a blue something in his hand.
Say that one more time.
A blue something in his hand. Something blue.
A blue something in his hand. And you showed me how he was holding it?
Like this.
Sorry if I touch it?
Yeah, this one.
How was he doing it?
Like this. Like that.
Holding something like this?
Yes.
And what did it look like?
Like a blue tart, like a tart.
Blue?
Blue.
Okay. Was it vinyl?
It's like a tart that you put on a car, you keep your car covered up.
Big thing.
Yeah, blue. Yeah.
And was he holding it like this?
It was holding like this.
Could you tell if there was anything in it, or do you know?
No, I couldn't tell.
But not holding like this?
Mm-hmm.
Did he say anything when he walked in?
No.
What did he do when he walked in?
Went upstairs.
You testified Mr. Murdoch came in your Alameda residence that morning. This is States 223. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is that?
Upstairs. Going upstairs.
And is that where he went, Alex Murdaugh, that morning?
Yes.
Carrying some blue thing? Mm-hmm. And this may be duplicate. If it is, I'm sorry. That's 222? Same stairs, same house?
Yes.
States 413. What is this?
That's the bedroom.
Okay. Where in Alameda is this bedroom? First floor, second floor?
First floor.
Is this where Miss Libby stayed?
No. Mm-mm.
And 412. Is that the same?
Yes, same bedroom. Yes.
We'll show you what's marked 411. Don't call out the answer. This is States 411 for identification at this point. Do you see the blue object in the center?
Yes.
Does that appear to look like the object you've described?
Yes.
You saying yes?
Yes.
Is it blue?
It's blue.
Is it vinyl?
Yes.
That appears to be the same thing you saw the defendant holding this early morning hours when he came in the house. Is that correct?
It looks so, yes.
You know, this is States 411 we'd offer at this point.
No objection. Is that admitted?
Let me just, I don't know how to ask except to ask it. Did you ever see that blue thing unfolded when you were that morning, or you saw him carrying it?
It was unfolded.
Okay. Where'd you see it?
In the bedroom, that
And where in the bedroom?
on the chair.
And again, I'm not clear. Was that in one of these pictures we showed you? What chair?
Did they disappear? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Was that on one of these chairs in this?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm referring again to 412. You saw it on the chair?
Yes.
Did you end up leaving at some point that day, right?
Yes.
When you came back the next day, was that there?
No, it
It
wasn't.
was gone.
Yes, it was gone.
And did you see Alex Murdaugh leave after he went upstairs? Do you know what he did upstairs?
No, no.
Did you actually see him leave the house after he went upstairs?
Yes.
And where did he go?
Oh, I don't know. He just left outside and left.
Okay. Did he say, "Hey, I'm leaving"?
Yes, he kept going. Yes.
Okay. And at that point, what did you think? Did you think he'd gone?
I thought he left, yes.
Okay. Did you see him after that?
Yes.
Okay. Tell them where, please.
He came
that
back.
morning.
He came back to the house.
And how do you know that?
Because the blind was open. I seen him came through the driveway.
And what did you see him? Was he walking? Was he driving when you saw him in the driveway?
He was driving the truck,
And I'm sorry, Miss Smith, found out what truck was he driving?
the white truck.
And whose white truck was that?
I'm thinking it was Mr. Randall. I thought it was his truck. He had the white truck also.
He had a white truck also. Okay. So when you testified Mr. Murdoch coming back in a white truck, that was Mr. Randolph's truck?
Objection, Your Honor, please.
Whose truck was it?
I don't know.
Ma'am, you must use words as opposed to, or because we need to know exactly what you're saying. Say yes or no if you can.
Whose truck did you think it was?
I thought it was Mr. Randolph's truck.
And were there four-wheelers or ATVs out on that property?
Yes.
Okay. What, if anything, had you observed about a four-wheeler that morning?
It was at the house,
Where had it been previously?
at the smokehouse,
When did it get moved?
the same day of that, the same morning.
Same morning when Mr. Murdoch was there.
Yes.
And in what direction did you see Mr. Murdoch leave? When you saw him leave the house and you thought he was gone? Do you know where he went?
No.
And when he came back in this white truck, what did he do?
He got another truck.
How long was he gone?
Probably about 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Thank you.
And then you say this other truck. What truck are you talking about?
It was a black truck.
Had you not seen that before?
No,
Why not?
because the food truck, the catering thing was still out there in the way, so I couldn't see it.
So that blocked your view.
It's blocked my view, yes.
So what vehicle did Mr. Murdoch leave after he came back in the white truck? What color truck?
It was a black truck. Black.
Do you know whose that was?
No.
That morning, this morning when you first saw him at 6:30, did you observe anything about his face? Any on his face?
They had a little cut, a little cut or something,
And ma'am, I apologize. A little what cut?
like a little bruise or something.
Where was it?
It's like above his forehead,
Okay. I won't ask you to touch me, but can you touch yourself to show what?
right here, something right there.
Did it look fresh?
This looked like a cut, not, I wouldn't say fresh, but it looked.
Was there a video system in the house for either Sister Murdaugh or Miss Libby Murdaugh?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell them about that? Where was that? And what was that?
It was in the Miss Libby's bedroom.
And how was that activated or operated? It's better. Do you know?
No.
Okay. Was it on all the time or not?
Yes.
And what color would it be if it was on? Was there a marker or a red and black or red and green?
Those circles, yes.
And would there be times when that wasn't on?
Yes.
And do you know who controlled it?
No.
I'm going to show you what's marked 410. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
Okay. And does it relate to what we're talking about this morning as far as your location?
Yes.
Your Honor, 410, I believe without objection.
Says it relates, and
Her testimony, where she was that morning. Okay.
no objection.
It's admitted. Without objection, it's admitted.
Can you see this on your little, you got a little thing up there? Do you mind coming down here? Judge, can she come down here?
Yes.
Very briefly, it won't be long. If you would stand over there so just we don't block the jurors, please, so Mr. Griffin can see. Is this a picture of what we refer to as Alameda?
Yes.
Okay. And can you show where I guess I called the main house? And I'm sorry we don't have a pointer. That's the main house. And you have to say yes for the record, please, ma'am.
Yes.
And down here, I know it's hard to see. Can you tell what that is? Sorry. Did he point to the main house again? I think the glossy jurors. I apologize.
Right here.
Is that where you took care of Miss Libby?
Yes.
Okay. Now down here, there's even a little O on it. Do you know what this is down here? Let me ask you this: what other buildings are on the property?
The smokehouse and a barn, another little shed
And where were the ATVs usually?
at the smokehouse.
Where's the smokehouse?
That's it right there. You see?
That's the smokehouse. And that's where the ATV
Shed.
was.
Yes.
And where did the ATV end up when you saw it after you thought Mr. Murdoch left? Had it moved?
At the main house.
Say that again, please,
At the
ma'am.
main house.
Okay. And when you saw him coming back, you thought he left. Where did you see him in the white truck? Do you remember?
He left him across the railroad track, you know. He left him across the railroad track and went out.
Which way to railroad tracks?
This way, I mean, that's the house. So it had to been around because I had to drive through.
You're not going to say anything. Good to speaking up.
I'm trying to.
That's good. Go back and sit down. That's fine. Thank you. Now, have you talked with either Mr. Griffin or Mr. Harpootlian or one of their investigators?
Yes.
Okay, where was that?
Oh, I haven't been home.
Best you remember. I'm not looking for a date and time, but you know how long we got?
It was last year.
And I met with you a couple of weeks ago,
Yes.
and just a little while ago this morning.
Yes.
And I have to ask you for the record, this Alex Murdaugh who came and saw you the night of the murders with the shorts and the shirt and the Sperry type loafers on, is that him over there?
Yes, sir.
And is he also the person that you said told you he'd been there 30 to 40 minutes?
Yes.
And is he also the person you saw in the house that night with some kind of blue vinyl that you said consistent with this picture we put in? Is that him?
Yes.
Thank you, that's all.
Round of defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Smith.
Good afternoon.
We have met once or twice. Did anyone ever show you a blue rain jacket?
No. No, that. Yes, I think so. Yes.
Now, some of our investigators showed you a picture of a blue rain jacket.
Yeah,
correct?
picture of it, yes.
But has anyone at SLED or the Attorney General's office ever shown you a blue rain jacket?
No.
Now, you saw Mr. Alex Murdaugh bring a tarp in, you said, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to show you a tarp, which we marked for identification purposes. This is, Your Honor, Exhibit 86. Is this the type of tarp that Mr. Murdoch came in to the Alameda house on the day that we're talking about?
Yes.
Tarp like this that would maybe cover up a car. Is that right?
Yes.
Any way to confuse this with a rain jacket?
No.
He was not carrying a rain jacket, was he?
No, it was balled up. I don't know him.
And you said it was balled up, and it was balled in such a manner it did not look like there was a shovel handle, a gun, or anything. It's just balled up. Is that right?
Correct.
Have I balled it up sort of correctly?
Yes.
All right.
No, we have no objection to that going in.
Your Honor, move Exhibit 86, I think, into evidence.
Without objection.
Now, when Alec left that day, this was laid out on Ms. Libby's retirement rocking chair, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. And you had, and when you left for end of your shift that day, that's where it was, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you've never seen it since, correct?
Correct.
Now, they showed you a picture, which is in evidence. Do you even know where that picture was taken in the house?
No. In the closet.
Do we have that picture? What's the last photograph that went in evidence? No. Can you see that, Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Do you know where that is, or even if it is in Ms. Libby's house?
I couldn't say because I don't be in the closets. I don't know.
So you don't even recognize the closet, is that right?
Correct.
And have you ever even been upstairs in Ms. Libby's house?
Twice.
2 times over how many years?
3 years.
2 times in 3 years. And do you know where Alex Murdaugh went when he went upstairs on the day that he brought a blue tarp in the house?
No.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that this day that he came over was about 3 days after Mr. Randolph Murdaugh's funeral. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And it was early in the morning?
Yes.
And do you remember that Mr. Randolph's funeral being on a Sunday?
Yes.
So then it would be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that week. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
And is that the morning that you said that you thought you saw a bruise on his forehead?
Yes.
So it was Wednesday after Mr. Randolph's funeral.
I'm thinking I can't remember. It was so long I can't remember.
Yes, ma'am. And and you mentioned that that he came in a truck. I think you said he drove up in a white truck.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And he does have a white truck, as
Yes.
far as you know, right?
Yes.
And then you said he left in a white truck. And are you sure that it was Mr. Randolph's truck or Mr. Alex's truck that he left in?
Because it was moved. Mr. Randolph had always keep his truck in a certain position, certain part.
So you think he left in Mr. Randolph's truck and moved?
Yes.
Okay. And when you came back, when you left that morning, I guess Wednesday we're talking about, was Mr. Randolph's truck back in the driveway?
Yes.
Parked in its normal place?
Yes.
Anything out of sort?
No.
Was it all covered up with mud, like someone's been mudding in it?
No.
Anything unusual about the truck?
No.
Okay. Now, you mentioned there was a four-wheeler that had been moved at some point in time. That four-wheeler had a flat tire, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Okay, was it a front tire, back tire?
I think it was a back tire.
And it was moved up close to the house?
Yes.
As far as you know, so the tire could be repaired?
Yes, it was moved from the smokehouse to the wrecker house, yes.
With a flat tire?
Yes, with a flat tire.
Now, you asked questions about the day of Mr. Randolph's funeral. And you had a conversation with Alec, and he's talking to you about how long he was over at the house on the night of June the 7th, right?
Yes.
And he said he was there 30 to 40 minutes.
Yes.
And you said, no, I don't think it was that long.
Yes.
And then the next day, I think you said, or day after, well, the following day, or I guess that would have been a Monday, you had another conversation with him where you just brought up back that you were going to get married. I think you said that was a different day, right?
Yes.
And he was just being nice, wasn't he?
Yes.
I think you used the word good person.
A good person, yes.
Who were you referring to when you testified in response to the question by Mr. Meadows that someone's a good person?
Mr. Alex Murdaugh.
Okay. Now, he came over on the night of June the 7th, and you said it was somewhere between 8:30 and 9:30 in the evening.
Yes.
And that's just your best estimate of when he got there, is that right?
Yes.
And I think you testified that he was there, in your estimation, 15 to 20 minutes?
Yes.
Now, when you said 15 to 20 minutes, are you talking about 15 to 20 minutes in the room with Ms. Libby, or on the property the whole time?
On the property the whole time. Thank you.
Okay. Well, now you said it took you about 5 minutes to let him in. Is that right?
Yes.
So, are you including the 5 minutes it took him to let him in your 15 to 20, or could he have been on the property 25 minutes?
20 minutes. Only thing is
No.
the whole time. So.
And you would agree that Alex Murdaugh would visit his parents frequently, right?
Yes.
And he would always come over more so than any other sibling. Is that right?
Yes.
And you would agree that it was not out of the ordinary for Alec to come at night, correct?
Yes.
You would agree with that, right?
No.
So you don't agree that is. So was it out of the ordinary for him to come at night?
Yes, on my shift. Yes.
Well, do you recall being interviewed, a telephone interview on June 17th, 2021, with Agent Joe Albiada? You remember that?
Yes.
And do you remember telling him that it was not out of the ordinary for Alec to come at night?
Yes, it's been long now. I couldn't remember. It's been a year now, so I can't really remember.
I mean, is it possible that you told him that?
Yes.
And here today, you said, as I have in my notes, that when he came over that he was acting kind of fidgety, yet normal. I believe that's what you said. Mm-hmm. Is his normal behavior kind of fidgety?
Yes.
He's just kind of a fidgety person, right?
Yes.
So it wasn't the first time you'd seen him being kind of fidgety, right?
Well, he always come different times, so I can't,
But his demeanor was normal for Alec the night that he came over on June the 7th, wasn't it?
I'll say yes.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the clothes that he was wearing, and he came in and he sat on his mom's bed.
Yes.
Lay down next to her.
Lay. Mm-hmm.
And held her hand. Is
He
that right?
walked in and hold her hand and spoke to her, then went on the bed and lay down.
And lay down.
Not lay down, but sit up.
And when he got up off the bed, was the bed soiled in any way? Was it wet?
I can't recall, but I didn't touch it.
Okay. What did Alex Murdaugh have blood on his clothes?
No. I didn't.
He had blood on his shoes.
No.
He had blood on his hair.
No.
Did he leave blood in his mom's bedroom?
No.
Now, according to the records that we've been provided in this case, you were interviewed by SLED on June 16th. Do you remember that interview?
Yes.
And I think in that interview, you told SLED that he had been there 30 to 35 minutes. Do you remember telling him that?
I think it's, yes.
Okay. And then you were interviewed again by telephone on June 17th. Do you remember that follow-up call? You remember having a short phone call on the 17th?
A phone call.
Okay. Well, whether it's one interview or two interviews, you never told anybody at SLED in June in these interviews, one or two, anything about Alec coming in with a blue tarp. Is that right?
Right.
You didn't say anything about a blue tarp until sometime in September. Is that right?
Yes.
And you initially mentioned something about Alec coming over with a tarp. The first time you mentioned it was to Officer Joseph Dingle of the Allendale Police Department when he was working a wreck. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. And you had been in the automobile accident, and Officer Dingle was working the wreck and I guess filling out an incident report, and you were having a conversation with him.
Yes.
And in that conversation with Officer Dingle, didn't you tell Officer Dingle that on the night of the murders that Alec came over with a blue tarp that looked like it had a gun in it?
No, I saw him like he was holding something.
So you didn't say...
I didn't say specific was a gun. I said he was holding something.
So you didn't tell Officer Dingle that he came over, and you couldn't tell, but stated it looked like a rifle.
No, I said it was like he was holding something. I did not say it was a rifle.
Okay. And if Officer Dingle wrote a report up saying that, he was just incorrect.
Yes.
Okay. And then after you had this conversation with Officer Dingle, then you were contacted by SLED agents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they asked you to go down to their offices, and that's where you were interviewed in September, right?
Yes.
And in that interview, you told them about a blue tarp that you put over your car just like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you didn't tell them because it's not true that there was anything wrapped up in here to look like a rifle.
Right.
Okay. And since that day of the interview at the Low Country SLED office, have you had any additional interviews with SLED agents other than getting ready for trial last week?
Yes.
How many additional interviews?
2 or 3.
And in each of those interviews, did you reiterate to SLED that it was a blue tarp and not a rain jacket that you saw Alex Murdaugh walking into the house with?
Yes.
Is there any doubt in your mind it was a blue tarp like this and not a rain jacket?
It was balled up. It was a blue tarp.
Because you saw it laying on Miss Libby's retirement rocking chair, right?
Yes, yes.
Second, Your Honor. Just one more point. When Alex Murdaugh came over on that early morning, I guess it was Wednesday, you testified. Were you in Ms. Libby's room?
Yes.
And you can't see the comings and goings out of the driveway from Ms. Libby's bedroom, can you? Mm-hmm. You can?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. That's all the questions I have.
Redirect.
Testifying in front of the grand jury on January 20th of 2022, on page 25, line 17, when you were asked about how long do you think he stayed in total, do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember your answer being 20, 10, 15, 20 minutes?
Yes.
Mr. Griffith asked you about the 30 to 40 minutes. Why'd you call your brother after that?
Because he's a assistant chief police at Warrenville. So I called him.
Had that statement by Alex Murdaugh affected you?
Yes.
How?
I was nervous.
And Mr. Griffin asked you about the evenings visits and the morning visits. Had he ever been there at 6:30 in the morning like he was that morning? Ever?
No.
In his 9:30 visit the night of the murders, that was very unusual for him to be at night, wasn't it?
Objection, Libby.
Don't lead the witness.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Was that unusual?
Yes.
Now, so you told an officer, did you tell an officer about this? You saw something that he thought he was carrying
Yes.
before you told anybody else?
Yes.
And what was that about, a traffic accident?
I had someone hit my car, and he was on duty.
And when was that?
September 11th.
That's my birthday.
Okay.
You had an accident, and you told the officer that you had seen him, Alex Murdaugh, come and holding something?
We was talking, we was having a conversation, and that came up.
And you just told him that?
We was talking.
Had anybody asked you that before? Did you have to say yes or no?
Yes.
Had
No.
anybody asked
No.
you that before?
No.
Okay. So why did you tell the officer that on September 11th?
Because we was having a conversation, and just talking in general, and he asked me a question, and I said, yes, I've been there. I said, I work with the Murdaughs. To keep, his mother.
In response to him, you told him you saw Alex Murdaugh with what?
A lining, a blue tarp.
And you saying tart or tart?
Tarp. Like a cover car with a tarp.
And you said you saw him with that, and did it appear he was carrying something?
Like he was holding something. It was bundled up. It was bundled up.
Bundled up?
Yes.
Like this?
Yes.
So you never saw this unfolded?
No, I never saw him.
Never?
Till the next morning, that was on the chair in Miss Libby's room.
And you don't know where this tarp came from, do you?
No, I don't know where it come from.
And it didn't have silver on one side, did it?
No.
It was all blue?
All blue.
And you said that the defense took a statement from you?
Yes.
Did they record it?
Yes.
Your Honor, under Rule 613, I'd like a copy of that statement or the recording at this time, if they have it. She's now taking the stand.
Your Honor, under Rule 5, it is not subject to being produced. And we didn't question her about the statement, so.
Rule 5 is pretrial.
Under 613, I think once the witness has taken the stand and she said that they took a statement from her, either recorded or written, we don't have it, hadn't been provided. He asked her about that specifically, dealing with the blue tarp, and when they discussed it with him, I'd like a copy of it.
I actually don't mind him having it, Your Honor. We don't have a copy with us.
The rule says upon request, the same shall be shown or disclosed to opposing counsel pursuant to Rule 611A So the defense must provide it to counsel.
Your Honor, we do have a copy here. I don't know if we can download it to, you got it?
Is it okay to produce it on flash drive now? Judge, I mean, I can't look at the flash drive, but yeah, I guess. Is there a hard copy?
It's not a written statement, it's an audio recording.
No, I'd like to have the opportunity to listen to that without the presence here. I'm assuming it'll be a hard copy, but I don't want to mess the court schedule up either.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have you go to the jury room. Please not discuss the case. All right, thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Meadows.
Your Honor. Well, Smith, do you remember being interviewed by Patrick McDavid and Robert Purcell that worked with Mr. Harpootlian and Mr. Griffin in October 20th of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. And I believe Mr. Griffin had asked you about some shoes in response to our questions. Do you remember telling them that he had, these investigators, he had on some cloth-like shoes?
Yes.
And I believe Mr. Griffin asked you about the length of time you were there. Do you remember these investigators asking you about the length of time that Mr. Murdaugh was at Alameda the night of June 7th?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. He's offering a prior consistent statement, and no one's in, I don't know why, kind of impeaching her with it. You can't bolster her testimony with prior consistent statement.
Mr. Meadows.
I believe he had questioned the 30 or 40 minutes and was questioning whether or not Alex asked her to say that. Through their investigators, it's clarified for me their conversations that directly contradict what she said early on direct that I have through their questioning and interviews, which I just got a little while ago.
All right, Mr. Griffin.
Again, he's offering a prior consistent statement, and it's not admissible unless it's being offered to rebut a claim of recent fabrication, and that's not the situation we have here.
The entire statement right now.
In objection to the statement being entered into evidence.
Yes, Your Honor, it's not a statement. There's a whole 30-minute audio recording. Yes.
All right. Rule 613B addresses this issue, and you may proceed. The objection is overruled.
Mr. Griffin asked you the length of time that Mr. Murdaugh was there when these investigators questioned you in October of 2022. Do you remember them asking you about how long he was in the kitchen and in the room with Miss Murdaugh?
Yes.
And do you remember them asking you about, and he asked you on cross, whether it was unusual, whether Mr. Murdoch had visited that time of night? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And do you remember telling the investigators that he would not come on your shift after 8 o'clock? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And that was unusual?
Yes.
And do you remember one of them questioned you? You actually registered it in your mind that this is unusual for him to be here that time of night? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Was your answer yeah? Because I was like, yeah, to be honest, I was like, oh, why are you here this time of night? Why are you here this time of night, you know? Because we all going to bed?
Mm-hmm. It's my mind. Yes.
And as far as the length of time, do you remember them asking you how long, and you said it was about 20 minutes?
Yes.
You know, and I'm trying to speed this up. Maybe for some don'ts. Do you remember, when Mr. Griffin asked you about your recollection as to what Mr. Murdoch said asked you about the 30 to 40 minute period? Do you remember that? Remember
Yes.
just a little while ago when he was asking you about that? I'm not trying to be, just a little while ago.
Yes.
Okay. About whether if anybody ever asked you if I was here or not?
Yes.
And do you remember that his investigators asked you if SLED had put that in your mind?
No.
Is that the recollection or something they put in?
Yes, sir.
He's leading the witness. He's publishing a document that is not a certified transcript of anything. Object.
Mr.
It's their statement they took.
I sustain the objection.
Did Alex Murdaugh ask you to tell somebody how long he'd been there?
He said, if someone asks you, I've been here 30 to 40 minutes. That's what he said.
He said if somebody asked you.
Yes.
Just repeating her answer.
Mr. Meadows?
Is that the answer you gave his investigators
Yes.
back in October of 2022?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Griffin asked you about this blue tarp. Did his or Mr. Harpen's investigators ask you about that when they met with you?
Yes.
Did they bring something with them? Do you remember them showing you something?
No, a picture.
Okay. Did they also show you a tarp?
Yes.
Okay. Did they tell you they just got it from Kmart?
Yes.
Just bought it from Kmart. And I can't. So their investigators brought this with you to the interview
Yes.
and showed you this, correct?
Yes.
And had you already described a well, who'd you first tell that there was something that the defendant may have been holding in his hand? Who'd you tell first? When he came in that morning after the funeral, who did you tell that first to in law enforcement? The defendant may have been holding something or was holding something when he came in?
Dango, Officer Dango.
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 Okay.
That's his name.
And as a result of that, SLED came and interviewed you.
Yes.
Okay. And then you told them what your testimony's been.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. So in October 22nd, when their investigators came, they were asking you about what you talked about to Dango, right?
Yes.
Okay. And they showed you this, right?
Yes.
And did they also ask you about if you'd seen a shirt? Do you remember when they asked you if you'd seen a blue shirt?
Yes.
What was a blue shirt?
It's a blue.
Well, I don't know. What was it? Just like a dress shirt or a shirt? What was it?
like a rain jacket or something, like a pullover.
Okay.
Something.
But they described it as a shirt?
No, not as I can recall.
Do you remember them asking you, you're positive it wasn't a shirt?
Yes.
They
Yes.
asked you that?
Yes.
And your answer was it's vinyl. It was a vinyl, right?
Yes. Yes.
Don't lead the witness.
And Mr. Griffin was asking you about the vinyl, whatever. Do you remember them asking you if there could have been a gun in it, his investigators?
I can't recall. I can't remember.
Last question, Judge. Can I have that picture? States 411, Miss Shelly. You've identified this previously. Does that look like the blue vinyl garment he was carrying in?
Yes.
Say that again.
Yes.
Was it all crumbled up in his arms?
It was balled up. Yes.
Was it folded out?
No, it wasn't.
Was he wearing it?
No, he wasn't.
That's all. Thank you.
By the defense.
Ms. Smith, it's clear when you left the next morning, you saw the blue tarp laid out on Ms. Libby's retirement rocking chair, correct?
Yes.
And it was not a rain jacket, was it?
No, it wasn't.
It was a blue tarp like what's in here is in evidence 86, right?
Yes.
No doubt in your mind.
No doubt.
Now, our investigators, let me ask you, I'm marked for identification exhibit 87. Did they show you a picture of this rain jacket?
Yes.
Had you ever, and you told them you never seen that rain jacket, right?
Correct.
You ever seen this rain jacket before?
No.
Did Alex Murdaugh have that rain jacket with him when he came in to the Ms. Libby's home on the morning, I believe, a few days after the funeral?
No.
Okay. And if this photo, exhibit 41, states exhibit 41, can you see this blue thing wadded up?
Yes.
If that is, in fact, the photo of the rain jacket that we just looked at, would your testimony be you've never seen that garment folded up in that closet before?
No, only thing I seen was blue velvet. I didn't know it was a raincoat or not. It was balled up.
So well, had you ever been in this closet before?
No, I haven't.
So you don't know what that is folded up there, do you?
Correct.
And so if it's this rain jacket, if that's what's in that closet, you've never seen Alex Murdaugh with this garment before, have you?
No, I haven't.
All right. Now, just very briefly, I know you've been really good here. I know it's been a hard day. We appreciate you being here. That day when you came to work, Mr. Randolph Murdoch had been put back in the hospital. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And that was unusual because he'd just gotten out of the hospital like a day before, right?
Yes.
And so it was Although it wasn't usual for Alex Murdaugh to come over that night, but this was an unusual day because Mr. Randolph had been put back in the hospital. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. That's all the questions I have, Judge.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
How heartbroken was she? I mean, actually started crying. And look, the entire testimony looked very uncomfortable on the stand. She did not want to have to testify against Murdaugh. It broke her heart. You could tell. And that made her all the more credible to me. So next week, you're going to hear from a very entertaining, very unique individual. And we are going to find out for the very first time exactly what happened that night at the Muchelle property from the leading United States expert who all this guy does is rebuild crime scenes. He's going to tell you from start to finish his opinion of what happened that night at Muchelle. So get ready for that. Thank you so much for listening. Please rate the podcast if you've not done so. I can't tell you how much that helps us. Please go find us on Facebook, give us a like. And I appreciate y'all so much for the support you give me each and every week. Tuesday, we got part 2 of the Bad Boy series, War Machine. If you liked part 1, part 2 is really going to set you on fire. Get ready for that on Tuesday. Until next time, for Exposed Scandalous Files of the Elite, I'm your host, Jim Chapman. Much love.